All right, so thank you for tuning in, Chomp of the Bit. How you guys doing? Hopefully, you're having a great day watching, college football, or you're just out there living life. Hopefully, it's going well for you. But I just want to take a few moments out of your day because I want to talk about the Celtics. The NBA season is right around the corner. It's about 2.5 weeks away. The Celtics have been probably one of the biggest parts of the NBA offseason for you know whatever reason, whether it's a trade, signing, or as we'll get into some of the off the court issues that I'm sure you know all about. But I do just want to talk, you know, real quickly, like I said, about my feelings on the offseason as well as what I think, if at all, will have any effect on my thoughts for them for the upcoming season. You know, how many wins and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into that as I go through the episode. But I think the only place you can really start is, you know, with their offseason, the Brogdon trade. That was definitely probably the high of the offseason because, you know, they went ahead, they dealt away some guys who were on the bench that you know, weren't really seeing enough from them to really factor them into the future plans for the team. So they moved a lot of those guys out, brought in Brogdon, who, you know, probably fixes a lot of the issues they had in the finals last season against the Warriors, where, once the offense really got bogged down, it became Brown and Tatum really having to play hero ball. And I think that played well into the Warriors' hands because if Brown and Tatum, we know Tatum was dealing with, I guess, like a shoulder injury, wrist injury as well. So his performances as the series went on, they dipped a little bit, but it's definitely a great learning experience for them. But now with Brogdon, he's another guy who can handle the ball, he can play make. He's also a good versatile defender, so he fits in with the makeup of this team. And he's a guy who can get you a bucket. So I think we'll see late game situations. It'll be a little bit different with Brogdon, so I definitely like that part of it. Then we had the Gallinari signing, which at the time I was a fan of because one of the things with the Celtics was they wanted more perimeter shooting, and if there's one thing Gallinari can do is knock down perimeter shots. Then of course he went ahead. He was playing for Italy, and he tore up his knee, so he'll probably be gone for the season. So that was a high and a low right there with that signing. But hopefully he can get back maybe next year and become a contributor for this team. Now, I probably should have put in there Kevin Durant. So I guess we'll talk about Kevin Durant as well. I almost forgot about that part of the offseason with everything else that's happened. But, the Kevin Durant situation I talked about on here before. I never really thought that was going to be a storyline for the Celtics, only because Brad Stevens made it well known after the loss to the Warriors that he wanted to address the team's depth. So I didn't think he was going to then turn around, trade draft picks, trade um, I guess players that were in the rotation just for one guy in Durant with all the baggage that he comes with. I guarantee he's going to be happy in Boston. So that's why I never really thought that was a realistic uh, idea. I guess I feel like that was more something that was pushed by NBA media because they knew the Celtics had the pieces to make a trade favorable to Brooklyn to move on from Kevin Durant. But I don't think it was reciprocated with the Celtics really being interested in dealing all the assets off just for Durant. Then another part was the Robert Williams injury, where he went ahead. He had was arthroscopic knee procedure done, and he's going to be out 8 to 12 weeks. So it's not going to be the full season or anything like that. We know he played in the finals hurt, which you had to give him, all the props for doing that. And it's probably good, he had the procedure in the off season. Sure, he probably won't be around until about Christmas, but Christmas is kind of when the NBA season really takes off anyway. So, if they'll, you know, be like a major player in the top five in the East by the time Robert Williams comes back, maybe they can start moving up the Eastern Conference ladder and maybe have a season that looks somewhat similar to last season. Then, of course, we had the Ime Udoka situation. I believe I talked about that on here as well, but just a quick version of it. Well, not even the version, but my quick thoughts about that is that, you know what? It's a team rule. He broke it. They suspended him. Fine. I know a lot of people are like, well, if he broke the team rule and it seems like he's not coming back, then why not just fire him? I believe I saw like on the little bottom ticker when I was watching one of the college football games on ESPN that the Celtics are now saying that if Udoka can, I guess, square away a job and he's interested in it, that they'll basically let him go from his obligations, even though he's suspended, but basically let him go and he can go pursue those. I find that interesting because I just don't know if right now he would be that attractive on the open market. Maybe as the season starts and some teams, struggle or whatever, maybe Udoka starts coming up. But I just think right now it'd be tough because with his situation with the Celtics being centered around women within the organization, and we're seeing women be more and more involved, not only on the benches but in front offices and all that. I don't know if any team would, jump at the chance to sign him right away. So that's an, I don't know if that's like Udoka going to the Celtics and being like, I've had calls from teams and kind of work that out because that could factor into the suspension. That maybe it's just a suspension where they're maybe coming to terms with a contract buyout, and then once they figure that out, maybe he'll be gone. I don't know. It's still an ongoing situation, so I feel like I don't really want to spend too much time on it. But now from that, we learned Joe Mazzulla will be the interim coach this season. I do think it's important that they, elevated somebody from the staff last season to, keep the players um not honest, that's not the word I'm looking for, but to keep some continuity, that's what I'm going for, within the structure of the team. And basically with the system Udoka put in place, since Mazzulla was there last season, he can kind of keep up with that. And because it definitely worked for them last season, making it to the finals. So I don't think that change will be that big of a deal once the season gets started. But there's definitely going to be somewhat of an adjustment there. So don't be surprised if the Celtics maybe stumble a little bit in the first few weeks of the season, but I fully expect them to get it going and be a top tier team in the East. And then finally, their offseason, I guess basically you could say it ended. Well, actually, there's still a couple of weeks in the offseason, but the latest news for them from the offseason was that they signed Blake Griffin to a 1 year deal, which um I mean, for just a short deal, with the Robert Williams injury, with the Gallinari injury, not Gallinari out for the year, basically Robert Williams out for the first couple of months. There's there was an opening obviously on the bench. So filling it with a veteran like Blake Griffin, who's I mean, he's only 33, but I mean, if you've seen him the past couple of years, he's not the same guy he was when he was with the Clippers, jumping over Kias and all that. He's now more of a kind of a mid-range player. He can get to the rim every once in a while, but he's more of a mid-range. And we've seen the past couple of years him trying to establish a three-point shot in his arsenal. So that's what he'll bring to the Celtics. I don't expect to see him more than probably 10, 12 minutes a night, but at least he's another guy. I guess if you put him out there, you figure he'll know what he's doing. So that does add to the depth, which is what Brad Stevens was going for. I know there's some other names that were out there: Hassan Whiteside, LaMarcus Aldridge, Those are probably the top three. So they decided on Blake Griffin, fine with that. And yeah, that's been the offseason so far. Of course, if other stuff happens between now and the start of the season, I'll come back and talk about. But now let's get past the offseason and talk about stuff that's actually happening on the court as we're getting ready for preseason action. I believe the Celtics start their preseason Sunday. I think they play the Hornets or something like that. So the way I see the lineup going right now, I feel like they'll probably stick with pretty much what they had last season. Smart at the one, Jalen Brown at the two, Tatum at the three. Now there definitely is a hole at the four because normally that'd be Horford and the Robert Williams would be at the five. I'm assuming they'll just push Horford to the five. I put Grant Williams only because him being around for a few years. I guess it would make sense to put Grant Williams there. And Grant Williams, for stretches of the season last season, was really effective. He became a 3 and D type of guy. He did struggle a bit in the playoffs, so I know the Celtics will be looking for him to be more consistent this season. And if he can play at that level where he was earlier in the season for the whole year, that might be just enough to get them over the top and win a title. So I put Grant Williams there. You could have, yeah, I guess you could have put maybe Blake Griffin, which I could see Blake Griffin starting games here and there depending on the opponent. But I'm just putting in Grant Williams right now at the starting four. I mean, I could put Horford there at four, and I don't know. Would you put Blake at five? Small ball type of five. So we'll have to see what Missoula decides to do, but I'm going with that right now. And then look at this starting lineup. We saw Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford. I mean, Grant Williams, I believe, started a few games last season. So it's a group that, will still play through Brown and Tatum. But like I said, if Grant Williams goes back to his early season form, he's a guy who can knock down open threes in the corners. Horford, we know, has worked on his three the past couple of seasons, so he's a guy who can hit threes from the corners as well. And Smart, I mean, say what you want about Smart, he's the lead on defense, number one, but offensively, he's not that bad of a playmaker. Where Smart, I think, gets in trouble is when Brown, Tatum, Horford, guys like that are struggling offensively, and Smart tries to take too much of the load on himself offensively. I think that's where he gets in trouble. So if he can dial that back a bit, just stick to playmaking and, you know, making shots when they're presented to you off of like a Brown Tatum drive and they kick it out to Smart, he has an open shot. Those shots I'm fine with him taking, whether they go down or not, because he has to do that in order to make defenses respect him being out on the floor. If he doesn't take those shots and he passes them down, then that just clogs the lane and brings more attention to Brown and Tatum when they're on the floor. But then even past the starting lineup, looking at the bench, these are the guys that I see filling out, I guess, the 12-man bench. There's some other names that I won't get into who could slide into one of these spots, but I'm going with Brogdon will most likely be your sixth man. That's probably a guarantee. You'll see him coming in for Smart, maybe even Brown at times. And even if you like slid Brown to the three, slid Tatum then up to the four, and you see a lineup of Smart, Brogdon, Brown, Tatum, and then insert whoever at the five, whether it's Horford or Blake or somebody like that. I actually think you might see that lineup a lot, probably to end the game. And maybe that could be a starting lineup a couple of games, especially with Robert Williams out. That could be a starting lineup we see pretty often. But you also have Derek White coming off the bench, and he had an up and down first season with the Celtics, but I mean they brought him in at the trade deadline, so he needed some time to adjust to playing with the Celtics. he actually seemed to play his best basketball in the finals. So, you know, maybe you can carry that over to this season. And if he can perform that way all season as well, that's a big plus for the Celtics. Then you have Pritchard, who's a guy who's kind of gotten lost in a lot of the shuffle with the offseason, but he was another guy who at times went through streaks where he was a deadly 3-point shooter. So as you'll see with a lot of these guys on the bench is that if they can be consistent, then that makes them more valuable to the Celtics. That ultimately makes the Celtics a better team and ultimately puts them in a better position to win a title, even though they made it their last season with a lot of these guys there. Then after that, like I said, Blake Griffin, who just came in, who will be a contributor off the bench, like I said, probably like 10, 12 minutes. And then some games, he could be a starting five when you want to give Horford a night off because Horford, he's getting up there in age, and the Celtics don't want to burn out Horford for the regular season. You want to play Horford probably like 20, 25 minutes to be safe. That way you can build him up at the end of the regular season and then have him go full blown in the postseason when you can up his minutes to like 30, 32 and be okay with that. Then the back end of the bench, I have Sam Hauser, who is a 3-point specialist and can definitely play a role on this team. Certain games where maybe like some late game situations, if they need a three, you can see Hauser come in. Cabin Gelly, who was probably the summer league surprise for the Celtics because he played really well around the rim. He was a rim protector on defense. He, was a rebound chaser. Then offensively, he was around the rim for offensive rebounds. He played pick and roll really well because, he showed that he can hit the 3-point shot at a decent clip, but he would also roll off of the picks and made himself available around the rim for lobs and all that. So he's a guy we'll probably see get some minutes while Rob is out. And once Rob comes back in, we'll have to see what his role looks like. And then I have Luke Cornett as a power forward center type to round out the bench. He's a guy who's been around the system for a couple of years now. May not see a lot of minutes, but he'll probably be like a garbage time, type of guy. But that's where I see the bench right now. There's some other names you could put like Noah Vonleh, who's I think a training camp invitee. Maybe he opens some eyes and works his way into the 12-man roster. But I think Vonleh will probably be in main. What? Yeah, because it's 12 active, and then was it 15 guys on the bench? So maybe Vonleh's one of those on the bench that's not active, just to be around the team for a little bit. That way, when you need him, he can play. Because he's a veteran, so you don't really have to put him in main. But Broderick Thomas is another guy who will probably be that. Um, Probably one of the three who is around the team, but not on the active roster. And the final spot, not really sure right now. So there's a good chance the Celtics could sign somebody else. Not, I mean, don't know. But looking at this team, I think it's as talented as maybe the team from last season. Because all you've really done is take out guys like Neesmith, who I wish, it could have worked in Boston for him, but I I'm not surprised he was moved. But some of the other guys, it is what it is. But this is a group that could be a player in the East. We know the East is challenging this year because you still have Milwaukee, you still have Miami is going to be around. You got Philly that'll be around, Brooklyn. As long as those three guys there, KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons, as long as they are fully invested, Brooklyn should be, good. You have Cleveland, who made the move for Donovan Mitchell, so there's going to be a lot of expectations for Cleveland to be a top 6 team. And even on the outside of that, Hawks made the DeJounte Murray move. We'll have to see what that looks like. So even if they brought the team back, didn't have the Udoka situation and all that, it still was going to be tough for the Celtics to make a repeat run to the finals. But the team that they have right now, I will say I'm happy with them. And I think they can still make some noise in the East. So, yeah. But that was me giving my quick thoughts on the Celtics. Obviously, you know what you can do. Let me know down in the comment section. What do you think the Celtics will do this season? Do you see them missing the playoffs? Do you think they're a play-in team? Do you think they're a top 6 team that makes the playoffs, maybe exits early? Do you think they make a return to the Eastern Conference Finals? Let me know. Like I said, I think they are players. They could get back to the finals. Maybe close to the season, I'll give my predictions on, the finish and all that kind of stuff. But for right now, I think they're still a top 6 team in the East. So they should be fully locked in as a playoff team. And I am excited to watch them. So that's it's always a good thing. But let me see what else. Oh, of course. Remember, once you obviously follow, like, subscribe, and share this podcast, Chomping at the Bit, which I would greatly appreciate. Remember, you can check me out um, to see Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. I'm over on Sports Empire Network, which you can see both on Facebook and YouTube. So Tuesday night, I do the Big Three podcast with Jordan and Dylan over there. It's a great show. You should definitely check it out. I would fully, appreciate the support. Um, and then Thursday nights, it's a new show that I, just did a couple of days ago. So I'll be on there every Thursday as well. This also on the Sports Empire Network, where it's pre-gaming pigskin. So I do an NFL show there with Gene and a couple other guys who will debut this Thursday. And we'll basically get you ready for Thursday night football and then talk about some of the matchups over the weekend as well. Also a great show. You know, both shows over on Sports Empire Network. Been getting a lot of great feedback on both of them. So, join me over there, support that community as well. Because Sports Empire Network, I'm happy that they brought me on and doing some big things over there. Then Friday nights, you can catch me on JJL Sports Talk Show on YouTube. I think it's also on Facebook. But if you want like the audio version, it's available everywhere. Kind of like Chomped at the Bit. It's available everywhere. JJL Sports Talk Show is available as well. I'm on there every Friday night with Jordan and with third co-host coming in this upcoming Friday. So, follow me over there as well. Subscribe to his channel. That way, you know, really support me. And I do appreciate you guys. I got to say that. And yeah, other than that, you'll catch me here on Chomping the Bit, of course, because this is my podcast. Why wouldn't I be here? But yeah, so I am definitely out here. Yeah, I'm trying to get out there with as much content as possible. So appreciate you guys and any of you who follow me over there. Like I said, Sports Empire Network, JJL Sports Talk Show. Appreciate that. And if you are, one of my listeners over here and you watch me over there, drop a comment and let me know. I'll appreciate that. But with that, just got to say thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode and be safe out there. We're in October now, fall weather, greatest season. To me, I'm a big fall guy. So, hey, if you want to put in the comments what's your favorite season, sure, we'll make that a second question down there. But so yeah, so be safe. God bless, and I'll catch you next episode. All right, I'm out. Have a good one.